Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for convening this hearing. I think this is one of the most important topics that we've discussed since I came here in June of 2012. It's a constant issue for me as one of 9 members of the House that has a border district with Mexico. And I remain concerned, as I've said many times in this committee and in hearings, that we still have a huge hole in our border security efforts, and that hole is right in the middle of my district. You could geographically post it at Douglas, east of the New Mexico border, wide open land, very rugged, very difficult to patrol, I understand that. 2 mountains coming out of Mexico that bring the cartels and their drugs right through the ranches where the people I represent live and work, and other businesses as well. So we have to do better there. And I guess one way that I think we can do better, and this is a question, Mr. Dinkins, for you, is that we have a very close working relationship with the people who live and work the land. They've been doing it for generations. They know those canyons, those mountains, that land better than anybody. This morning I had a conference call, one of my regular conference calls with the ranchers and other stakeholders in the region and the area, and I rely a lot on their feedback about what's really going on. And we have obviously we have DHS representatives on the call as well, but there are slightly different perspectives on what's really happening. So I guess, Mr. Dinkins, my question for you is, to what extent has ICE engaged stakeholders on and around the border? And do you know if you can even comment on what the Mexican authorities have done on their side of the border? These people know the border. What have we done to make sure that their eyes and ears are giving us the information that we can use effectively?
Thank you, sir. And yes, we are working really collectively with both law enforcement in that region, as well as I know that Secretary Johnson was just down in that area and met with the Ranchers Association and so forth. So we have been actively engaged in getting the information from the subject matter experts, which are the boots on the ground. We also have a unique skill set there that we use the shadow wolves to actually help track and look for smugglers crossing the border through the mountainous terrains and desert. So we are actively engaged in that area, and I think that we've made a lot of progress in probably the last 5 or 6 years taking that information from the citizens that reside in those areas and trying to put that into action.
There are 2 groups, stakeholder groups, that were established quite a while ago that meet on a regular basis every month in Douglas and Naco. We also have them in other areas, but those 2 in particular are relevant to the discussion. It primarily convenes stakeholders with Border Patrol supervisors and others, and I would hope that ICE might, from time to time, join that discussion. I think there would be a lot of information gained that would be very useful. I guess I want to, Mr. Dinkins, continue with you with another question having to do with the emerging and ongoing threats that we see from the cartels. In your opinion, what is the latest and most dangerous threat that the United States law enforcement officials face from the cartels, and what are we doing to thwart it? I know that they're very nimble. They have more money than just about anyone. They are very fast at moving into new areas of threat. So could you give us your opinion on what the most dangerous emerging threat is and what we're doing to combat it?
Yes, sir. I would say that their most major concern remains what it always has been, is the bread and butter of their criminal organizations, which is drug trafficking, because it impacts the citizens of our communities and our children. We remain steadfast at attacking that issue. But we've also seen then, as we put pressure and it becomes less lucrative for them to move into other areas, from smuggling, because they control geographical areas, so their human smuggling involvement, as well as we've even seen them in intellectual property crimes, where the penalties and scrutiny may not be as high, but yet the profits remain high. So we remain steadfast. I think that as we continue to exchange information with our Mexican counterparts, and also even beyond, because those issues also come across the southern border of Mexico as well. And we have to take a whole region approach to combating it and working with law enforcement across the board. example, Mexico City training, when we had a gang training operation with our Mexican counterparts, we invited law enforcement from the entire region because it's a joint problem.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.